I think I'm on. It says I'm on. Am I on? Anybody? Hello? Anybody there?
Just hanging out.
What?
Hanging out.
Is that you guys? I don't know.
Hanging out with RiffTrax.
It says I'm on.
Having ourselves a Zoom thing.
Can you hear? I can't hear you. What are you?
Just hanging out.
Can you?
Hanging out.
Can you see my icon or anything?
Hanging out with RiffTrax.
I don't know.
Having ourselves a Zoom thing.
I'll log off and log back on again.
Just get online and come hang out with RiffTrax.
Okay, finally. I'll tell you. Hi, everybody. Hello.
We are so hanging out.
We are. I liked your avatar there, Kevin. It looked like Gumby was about to like throw it to Paul or something.
Thank you. I'll put it up again for a moment. Good evening, North America. This is Gumby. Stand by for news. He's got the candlestick phone. That's one of the many, many thousands of things we'll get into here. But welcome, everyone, to our Hanging Out with RiffTrax for all of you special super ultra Traxian folks who join us. We're very glad to have you here.
Yes.
To talk about this deeply, deeply bizarre universe that we found ourselves plunged into. Alice in Wonderland got nothing. The Bhagavad Gita, forget it.
I have no questions.
Amateur hour.
Yes. I have no questions about any of those things. The Old Testament, no questions. New Testament, no questions.
Norse mythology.
I have nothing to add.
The hallucination scene in Beavis and Butthead Do America that Rob Zombie directed.
Yeah. The Yaqui Way of Knowledge by Carlos Castaneda. This is child's play.
Yes.
Compared to the universe of Gumbasia.
I literally have more questions about this than anything we have ever done. And I'm searching my mind. I don't think there's anything. This is the most bizarre movie we've
I don't think I'm out of line to have a little wine while we do this, because this is
what are you quaffing?
This is a red blend from Paso Robles. I find kind of, insouciant and yet pert.
Paso, he's a nice guy, Paso. He makes
good old Paso Robles, yeah.
All right, so how do we get into this? Because there's so much to get into.
Well,
so
let's
Gumby,
just say that.
Let's go around the horn and say,
okay.
I'll start by saying I never watched Gumby. I think until, Mystery Science. Did we do a short? I don't even remember.
Robot Rumpus. Yes, okay. We did the short Robot Rumpus.
RiffTrax, we've done some, or maybe not?
Okay. No.
All right, so I never watched it as a kid. Never saw it, never heard the theme song. A roommate of mine in college would sing it to me, and I go, "What are you doing? Stop that. I don't like it." So I know nothing about Gumby. So this is my introduction. So let's go around the horn. What do you guys know about Gumby?
Yeah, I never watched it, completely unfamiliar with this pop culture universe. I think the Eddie Murphy on SNL was the only exposure I had to it. It's one of those things where I knew the parodies of it, but I didn't actually know the original thing.
Yeah. Same.
I was telling Kevin on the before we glided on, like sometimes you would go over to a guy, someone's house. Usually, like it would be someone that your mom forced you to go play with, and like they would have like a Gumby toy, and you'd be like, I know what this is now. But like, why don't you have any better toys? And like, why do you have this one? And you would be like, please don't make me go back there. And your mom is like, he is a very nice boy. Mommy is a Gumby toy, and he seems very attached to it.
Well, for me, as the oldest of this group here, in the realm of Saturday morning cartoons, if Gumby came on, it was an immediate. Actually, we didn't do that. We did this instead. Because it was Bugs Bunny, or there was the Three Stooges. So Gumby just didn't register for me. But the toys were everywhere. I think we'd get them in our Christmas stockings. And then the dog would get a hold of them and chew them up. And the thing that I remember most is that the toys had these wire armatures in them.
Yeah.
And when they'd start to wear out, the armatures would poke through and they were really sharp. And you could do some serious damage just playing with your Gumby toy.
Yeah. When they banned lawn darts, you could use a Gumby as a...
If you ever get sent to prison, ask someone to send you a Gumby, and you'll have shit ready to go.
So none of us know much about Gumby.
The lore.
What is the tale of Gumby? He can... This is the only thing I remember my roommate would say. He can walk into any book with his pony pal Pokey too.
That was part of the song. Yeah.
I want to know more about the 20-year-old man who was singing Gumby to you, like while you slept. What is the?
Well, he became an actuary. He wore slippers when he was 19 years old in our dorm room.
Like in a Hugh Hefner
he'd put on a robe. Fred McMurray. like just like a dad. Like I can't wait to be a dad. And you don't know about Gumby.
Yeah.
And so
You ever get together with your dad and talk about Super Circus?
no, that never. That didn't come up. But so the movie lore is the first that I've seen of it.
Yeah.
And let's just run it down. Gumby he exists in a creation loop because he exists on TV and a Martian is watching him, or a moon person is watching him.
Please, a Martian? Are you insane?
We're not sure if it's the moon. It's probably the moon, but it could be one of the moons of Mars for all we know.
Wow.
It's a satellite somewhere.
It presents as the moon, but
Well, let me call it up so we can get this going.
It's a good idea.
You can keep talking.
So
It's a
here's my
1995
idea. He's summoned through the television screen somehow. So Gumby might or might not exist in another dimension is one of the things.
Well, that's what we'll get into, but just on its face, he sees a TV screen of Gumby, this creature on whatever moon we're talking about, and we'll see it in a second here.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, he eats popcorn.
Yes.
So yeah, they're showing a Gumby adventure, and then this thing is here.
Okay. So he's getting an antenna from Earth, correct? Right?
Weird to assume, but then it could be like 2001. So he's getting the antenna signal from Europa, one of the moons of Jupiter. We don't know.
Okay, but the point is that Gumby exists already because he's got a series. He's got the Gumby series.
Yeah,
And someone
or
sees
the
it.
Truman Show type of thing. This guy's watching Gumby's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what his reaction to it is to, well, I think it's his reaction is to summon a slab and create another,
Gumby.
We are looking at Gumby right now. Proto Gumby and
It's
Pokey.
the creation thereof. It's the creation moment. It's the spark of Adam right here.
Yeah.
Well,
It must exist on both ends of a wormhole where he is simultaneously seeing the creation and creating it.
Yeah.
Yes.
or he's a steady state sort of cosmology and he exists or doesn't exist and is constantly in a state of recreation.
And the only reason we're not talking about the body, they're like body snatchers, like go and replace these, is because that's not part of the movie at all.
Right. You
So
think
that's the
that's what
only
it's going to
reason.
be
Yes.
watching this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you
So-
watch it, you think, oh, this guy's made his own Gumby clones. But no, this is
Right.
Gumby.
So they land on Earth, Gumby's bandmates. So Gumby already has the band, the Claymates.
He's
He has
in
a
it
garage
already.
band. Yes.
They're advertising their show for Friday at 2 p.m., which is a primo spot. And then they ask Pokey if he will tell Gumby, like, "Hey, when you see Gumby, let him know what we're doing." And Pokey says, like, he says, like,
Pokey, you know where Gumby is?
Nope.
Pokey, if you find Gumby, remind him of the rehearsal at the barn, will ya?
Maybe if I feel like it.
so Pokey's just a dick to everybody.
Pokey's just cold.
But there's no explanation for that at all. Like, so I watched this and I was like, oh, so they've been replaced by replicants. These Moon Gumby and Pokey have come down. But there's just no explanation. They already existed on Earth. They're in a band. They have a gig. And Pokey's just rude to these two, which is understandable. I mean, look at the guy.
Yeah, I there's no quarter given to these guys at all, but
Oh, no buckle, fat buckle, and thin buckle.
Yes.
which is a hilarious play on Fatty Arbuckle. I read the lore of it. That's what it comes from, obviously.
Wow.
And which kids everywhere just thought was hilarious, right?
If there was one guy you wanted to make jokes about to kids in the early 60s, it was
It's
the OJ of his time.
convicted felon Fatty Arbuckle. Yes.
He was exonerated.
Oh, sorry.
But so, yeah, this is very confusing because they drive up and say, well, that's Pokey goes like, maybe if I feel like it, you a-holes.
Yeah.
And then they go, that's not like Pokey.
No.
Pokey, who just was created, like we saw his creation. What is happening?
Again, I don't know. Maybe they just hang out in space between their adventures. That's all I could. In order to make this make any sense, cosmic sense to me, I think they turn into slabs.
Why didn't white hair guy go like, hey, did you guys just get sparked again as a slab from the moon and get sent here? And then we would have gone like, oh, okay, I guess that's how it works.
Well,
Yeah,
I
there's
think
a
what you're
poster
pointing.
for Gumby behind them right there. There's Gumby imagery all
There's
over
Gumby
this
buildings.
Yes, there's
it's
graven
called
images of
Gumbasia.
Gumby everywhere in
Well,
Gumbasia. There is
folks, what's the name of the planet or the world they live in?
a Gumbasia. It's
Gumbasia.
There's a Pokey building.
Yeah.
There are casinos.
It's like Albert Speer's vision of Berlin.
And so Gumby's Pizza, which there was one of those in Charlottesville that me and Sean went to college there.
Yeah.
Very low rent, bad pizza chain.
Yeah. You could get a 16-inch cheese pizza with almost no cheese on it for $5.
We have a question in our Q&A, one of the first ones. Brian asks, anyone ever go to the Gumby restaurant? You guys know, but you knew they were there.
They were delivered to the dorms nonstop.
No one ever called that a restaurant. It was always like... I passed out in
An after-hours place.
I love
Connor,
Sean
I think you might have disconnected your microphone in your excitement.
I think you're on your
I can't hear you,
computer.
Connor.
Yes.
I love, Sean, your description that it just has no cheese on it, which is just not the point of a pizza when you're like 6 beers in.
Right.
A piece of bread with some light.
It was like a splash of tomato sauce, and that was about it.
It's like ketchup toast then, pretty much.
Oh, terrible.
So we need to press on into the Gumby universe here a little bit.
There's so many questions. All right, so
Can you hear me? That's my question.
Yes, we
now
can.
hear
Okay.
you. Yeah.
So what we discover as Gumby is rehearsing is that Gumby does have, I think it's the first revelation that he has powers.
Oh, yes, but this is before that comes
this is
the plot
before.
point. The reason that they're rehearsing, no, what I'm saying is, no,
Yes.
you're right. He has those powers, but the reason they're rehearsing is to fix the usury problem created by the blockheads who are giving bad loans to people.
I'm fascinated by the blockheads.
Yes.
Let's get to that. So this happens. 3 people get combined into a ball. A doctor who sounds like a comedian from the 60s, I think, helps them. And
let's define who these 3 people are. There they are. There's Pokey,
Prickly,
their friend the dinosaur Prickly, and then Goo, who is a fish who can fly.
Yeah.
Goo is a godlike. Well, they're all godlike creatures.
Yes, they are.
Goo has more powers.
All of a sudden, Goo does some insane stuff halfway through the movie, and you're like, "Why is Goo not the star?" But anyway,
Yes. Yeah.
but then and they do live amongst humans. That's important too.
And the humans do not. I mean, humans are. This guy says, "I've seen so many cases of like clay models combining, but I've never seen a worse case than this." Yeah. So it happens constantly.
Yes. Here's my
humans
favorite.
Are used to it.
Here's my favorite human. He's the firefighter that reacts to
There he is. Well, human is being generous there. I think they're sort of like proto-humans, sort of like, those characters in the Disney cartoons would walk around in suits, but they had like a dog nose and ears and everything else was completely humanoid.
In Duckburg.
Yes, in Duckburg, yes.
Yeah, but they need their eyes washed. There was an eye wash station there, and they go to the hospital. So I think they're supposed to be humans.
So would they go to the same hospital for treatment that they work at, or are they a different kind of
It's a
clay
good question. I don't know. Yeah.
So now, just an aside, and they set it up as a premise. They can walk. They live in a place that doesn't have libraries. It has a book department.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but they can just pass themselves into any book and become part of the fictional or non-fictional universe.
Giant questions: where are they living most of the time? Like, is the world outside of the books? Because they go, we have to go into the farm, and then they go into the book called Into the Farm or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, there's definitely clay people who have been like, you're in too deep, man. You can't spend all your time in like Into the Farm. Like he's like, this is my world now, and they pull it back out. Like
I'm telling you, if this would have been a game like one of those immersive interactive fiction games.
Yeah, Second Life.
Like Myst.
Yeah.
It would have sold so much. Can you imagine people being Gumby or Pokey and walking through this into books? And by the way, this is a small...
going to Easy Loans and Deli Dave. Like, that would be great. I can't
Easy Loans and Deli Dave exist in the farm book.
Yeah.
Part of the small town that lives in the farm book.
So Gumbasia is... Then it has a bookstore, and then they go... book department. Yes. They go to the book department, and that's how they live their lives?
In a myriad of universes.
But you never know where these books are in relation to anything else.
No.
It's not like there's, like you said, there's not a bookstore, there's not a library. They're just suddenly in the book zone when they want to be there.
Yeah.
And you walk into the farm book, and then all of a sudden you're taking payday loans, next to the place you sell your plasma, and it's not. You're like, did we turn to the wrong page here? Like, I don't really understand how we ended up here.
It's time for